Usually when we think about strategy, whether you're sitting across a table in a competitive card game or even sitting across a desk in a corporate negotiation, there's this underlying expectation of a back and forth.
Right, like a chaotic sort of dialogue.
Exactly. It's a tennis match. You hit the ball over the net, your opponent scrambles, they hit it back, and you react. You're both, testing each other's reflexes, probing for weaknesses, and really just hoping the other person makes a mistake under pressure.
Yeah, you're negotiating momentum. You commit a resource, they commit a resource to counter it,
Yeah.
and the game state just naturally evolves from that fiction.
But then you encounter a strategy that completely refuses to play tennis.
Oh, yeah.
It's more like you show up to the court, you're geared up, you're ready to sweat, only to realize your opponent has already removed the strings from your racket, they drained your water bottle, and they locked the gate from the outside. You're not actually playing a game anymore.
No, you're really not. You're just experiencing a series of predetermined events.
Right.
It's a total dismantling of agency. And that is a terrifying but honestly entirely accurate way to frame the document we are looking at today for this deep dive. It strips the illusion of a back and forth right out of the equation.
It really does. So for you listening, today we are unpacking a highly analytical, just incredibly specific document. It's titled val_Yugioh _deck.pdf, and it's dated April 22nd, 2026.
And on the surface, if you just skim the first page, it looks like a standard 40-card deck list for the trading card game.
Yeah, just a list of cards. But as you dig into the annotations and the tactical breakdown, it becomes something else entirely. It reads like this psychological profile of a tactical mastermind.
It really does.
Our mission today is to unpack this document, which is basically a manifesto on the ruthless efficiency of this persona named Val. It's a playstyle built entirely on absolute universal control.
And what's so fascinating here is that, while this is technically a breakdown of game mechanics, you don't really need to know the game to get it. It's really a masterclass in preemptive problem solving and the raw psychology of dominance.
Yeah, it applies to so much more.
Exactly. It's a framework for completely dismantling your opposition before they even realize the conflict has begun. Val doesn't view the opponent as an equal participant. Val views the opponent as, just a variable to be solved and isolated.
I love that. So I want to look at the core philosophy driving this first, because the document doesn't start with combos or win conditions. We move straight from the intro into a section called Core Signature Cards.
Right.
And it defines Val's brand of universal control with just 3 words: clarity, adaptation, inevitability.
Those 3 concepts are the structural pillars holding up this entire 40-card arsenal. Clarity implies a completely unfiltered, objective understanding of the game state. Like, no wishful thinking.
Just seeing things exactly as they are.
Exactly. And then adaptation is the mechanical ability to shift gears without losing your overarching structural integrity. But inevitability, man, that is the chilling part.
Yeah, that word is heavy.
Inevitability means the final outcome is already a mathematical certainty. The opponent just hasn't accepted it yet.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the very first card the author highlights to represent this mindset is Cyber Dragon. The notes describe it specifically as, quote, the tempo punish.
Right, the tempo punish.
Now, for anyone who plays, Cyber Dragon gives you a free special summon if your opponent controls a monster and you don't. But it's the quote attached to it in the text that sets the tone for this whole thing. It just says, you moved first, that was your mistake.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture of strategy, that completely flips the traditional logic of taking the initiative.
It really does.
In almost any competitive arena, being proactive, getting on the board first, establishing your presence, it's seen as an inherent advantage. You are setting the pace. But Val's philosophy weaponizes the opponent's proactivity.
It reminds me of those classic martial arts movies, where the hot-headed rookie charges at the serene master, throws this massive telegraphed punch, and the master just effortlessly redirects that exact momentum to flip the rookie over a table.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right. Val punishes initiative without expending any actual effort. Like, oh, you spent a card to summon a monster. Great, you just fulfilled the exact condition I needed to drop a 2100 attack body on the board for absolutely free.
Precise. The opponent believes they are establishing a threat, but mathematically, they are just giving Val a free resource. And that philosophy of neutralizing threats really brings us to how the deck handles an established game state, because the document heavily features the Monarchs.
The Monarchs.
Yeah, these are 3 specific tribute monsters that represent different vectors of absolute control.
So, if Val is so focused on punishing the opponent's tempo, how does Val handle the unpredictability of what the opponent might do next? Because that's where these monarchs come in, right? It's not just about what's on the board, it's about controlling time, past, present, and future.
That is exactly how the text frames them. Let's look at the Stalos, the Firestorm Monarch. When it's summoned, it discards a random card from the opponent's hand.
Okay.
The text labels this preemptive control. So Thestalos is an attack on the future. The opponent's hand represents their potential, their combo pieces, their safety nets. By discarding from the hand, Val is mathematically removing decisions before they even exist.
And the quote for Thestalos in the document is literally, you don't get that option. It's straight up psychological warfare.
Completely.
Then you have the present tense, which is Zamborg the Thunder Monarch. You tribute a monster, you target an opponent's monster, and you just destroy it. The text calls this immediate correction.
Right, so if Thestalos is preemptive, Zaborg is the surgical strike. If a problem somehow manages to materialize on the board and threaten Val's state of clarity, Zaborg deletes it. There is no damage calculation, no battling, no negotiation. As the quote says, that one's gone.
That one's gone. Just
Yeah.
brutal. Which leaves the environment itself, right? Mobius the Frost Monarch. It destroys up to 2 spells or traps. And the text categorizes this as environmental control with the quote, we do this properly.
Right.
Meaning Val completely sterilizes the field, removing any hidden variables or reactive traps before committing to a larger play.
It is a complete 360-degree lock. Thessalos attacks the potential future, Zaborg handles the immediate present, Mobius secures the hidden environment. But the card that cements this entire mindset, the one the document calls the universal answer, is Breaker the Magical Warrior.
Oh, Breaker is so fascinating here. It's a normal summon that gets a spell counter. You can remove the counter to destroy spell or trap, and it acts as an immediate pressure piece on the board. The quote for this one might be the most arrogant yet terrifying line in the whole PDF. It says, whatever you built, it's already dealt with.
What's fascinating here is the psychological toll this takes on the opponent. Because Val isn't just trying to reduce life points to 0. Val is systematically erasing hope.
Erasing hope, yeah.
Every time the opponent tries to set a defense, build a strategy, or find a tiny foothold in the match, Val drops a card like Breaker to demonstrate that the solution was already in hand. It proves to the opponent that every single situation has a clean, pre-calculated answer.
Okay, but this brings me to a massive point of friction I have with this document.
Oh.
Yeah, because understanding this cold calculating mindset is one thing. But how do you actually engineer a 40-card toolkit to execute it reliably? I want to push back on the very last line of the source document's introduction. The author writes, this deck doesn't rely on synergy, it relies on standards.
Yes. The fundamental architectural rule of Val. Standards over synergy.
Wait, I have to challenge this.
Go for it.
Isn't the entire point of deck-building games to create intricate, synergistic combos where cards work together? I mean, the entire 2026 meta is built on these hyper-consistent engines. Players use decks where card A searches card B, which special summons card C, leading to this massive, unbreakable board state.
Right, that's the standard way to play.
So if I have a synergistic combo that reliably wins the game on turn 1 or 2, why on earth would I abandon that for a deck that relies on slow, individual standards? Doesn't ignoring synergy put Val at a massive mathematical disadvantage?
I totally get why you'd think that. It sounds counterintuitive, especially in a meta dominated by combo engines.
Right.
People love synergy because the payoff feels exponential. Put 3 specific pieces together and you get an explosive result.
Exactly.
But from Val's perspective, synergy has a fatal mathematical flaw.
Mm-hmm.
It requires setup. It requires multiple pieces to be in the correct place at the exact correct time.
Oh, I see. It's like a house of cards.
Exactly. It is incredibly fragile. If you build a machine that requires 3 specific gears turning in perfect harmony to generate your win condition, and your opponent removes just one of those gears, say with a Thestalos discard or a well-timed piece of removal, your entire machine violently collapses.
Wow.
You are left holding pieces of a broken engine that do nothing on their own. Val rejects that vulnerability entirely.
So when the document says standards, it means evaluating cards in a total vacuum.
Yes. Standards means every single card in this 40-card list is individually powerful. They possess immense raw utility and trade efficiently without needing any other card to function.
Right.
If I draw Breaker the Magical Warrior, I don't need another card in my hand to make it good. It clears a trap and presents a threat entirely on its own. If you disrupt one of Val's plays, the next card drawn is just as capable of controlling the game. The deck is mathematically unshakable because there are no fragile combos to break.
That actually explains the absolute brutality of what the text calls the game-warping core of hand control.
Oh, the spell cards.
Yeah. If you are relying on individual card economy, your best bet is to literally destroy the opponent's economy. The document lists Delinquent Duo, Confiscation, and the Forceful Sentry. These are spells that just rip the opponent's hand apart. Along with power cards like Pot of Greed and Graceful Charity, they dictate the game state immediately.
We have to look at the pure math of those cards. Take Delinquent Duo. You activate one card from your hand, and the opponent loses 2 cards from theirs.
It's devastating.
In the economy of a card game, you just generated a clean +1 advantage while simultaneously stripping them of their most valuable resources. Hand controls is the most proactive form of dominance because it dictates the game state before the opponent even gets a turn.
And it gets so much worse when you look at the conversion tools. This is where the document details how Val physically removes threats on the board. The author lists Brain Control, Snatch Steal, and Enemy Controller.
Notice the common mechanical thread there. Val isn't using cards that simply destroy the opponent's monsters.
Right.
Val's using cards that take control of them.
It's a hostile corporate takeover.
That's exactly what it is.
Like if my opponent spends 3 cards and their normal summon to put a massive boss monster on the field, and I use Snatch Steal to just take it, I haven't just neutralized their threat, I have weaponized their own investment against them, I bankrupt their board, and I immediately add their best asset to my portfolio for the cost of a single spell card.
The math on that is staggering.
Hmm.
They go minus an advantage to build the threat, and you go plus by stealing it. You force the opponent into a position where playing the game effectively just gives you better ammunition.
So just to give you a full picture of the arsenal here, the rest of the 40-card list supports this beautifully.
Right, let's map it out.
There are 17 monsters total, including advantage and recursion tools like Magician of Faith and Sangan, plus some flex utility stuff like Gravekeeper's Spy and Morphing Jar.
Yep.
Then you've got 16 spells, which include board control cards like Heavy Storm and Mystical Space Typhoon. And finally, just 7 traps. But they are defensive and precision removal tools like Mirror Force, Torrential Tribute, and Ring of Destruction.
And that ties perfectly into how Val suffocates the opponent in practice. Because now that we know the philosophy and the exact tools, how does Val actually play the game? The text breaks a match down into 4 chronological acts.
Okay, let's walk through them. Act 1 is the early game, which the text calls information and disruption. Val doesn't wait to see what happens. Through hand control, Val scouts the opponent's plan and removes key pieces right away.
To quote the text directly, you are not reacting. You are shaping the game state. It requires immense proactive thinking. You aren't guessing what they might do, you are looking at their hand and deciding what they will do.
Which moves us into Act 2, the mid-game, or adaptive control. I noticed how every card trades efficiently here, but I want to ask you about a specific line. What does the text mean by, removal is precise, not excessive? Because if I manage to summon a decent threat, why doesn't Val just drop a mass removal card to wipe the board and be safe?
Because a mass removal card is a hammer, and Val operates with a scalpel. If you use a huge spell on a single moderate threat, you are overcommitting out of fear. You are trading down in potential value.
And Val doesn't feel fear.
Exactly. Val calculates that a single Sakuretsu armor or a dust tornado is the mathematically correct one-for-one answer. As the text says, you don't commit blindly, you answer correctly. By holding the big sweepers until absolutely necessary, Val ensures they always have the highest value response available.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. Act 3, the turning point. Or the conversion. Val doesn't just gain an advantage here. Val uses cards like Metamorphosis or Snatch Steal to convert small resources into absolute control. You don't just gain an edge, you gain inevitability.
Metamorphosis is really the key to the lock here. The text outlines this scenario where Val uses a card like Snatch Steal to take the opponent's monster. Val attacks the opponent with their own monster, dealing damage.
Adding insult to injury.
Oh, absolutely. But then, in the second main phase, Val activates Metamorphosis, tributing that stolen monster to special summon a fusion monster of the same level from the extra deck. Usually that target is Thousand Eyes Restrict.
And for those who might not know, Thousand Eyes Restrict prevents all other monsters on the field from attacking or changing their battle positions. It literally freezes the game.
Look at the sequence of events there. You took their best resource, you used it to deal damage to them. And then, before the turn ends, before they have any chance to take their monster back, you convert it into a permanent game-freezing lock. As the document notes, you don't just gain advantage, you convert it into inevitability.
Wow. Which brings us to Act 4, the endgame, the phase the document calls lock and close.
This is the chilling finale.
Yeah, based on everything we've discussed, the hostile takeovers, the precise removal, the total hand control, you'd expect the grand finale to be some massive, explosive, cinematic final attack.
But that would contradict Val's entire philosophy. There is no massive cinematic final attack. There is no giant boss monster filling the sky. The opponent simply, well, they just run out of meaningful plays. Val maintains control without ever overextending.
The document's conclusion to this phase is genuinely eerie to me. It just says, the game ends quietly.
By the time the final life points are drained, the opponent has functionally been out of the game for several turns. They have no hand, no field presence, and their draws are instantly neutralized by the precise removal Val has meticulously saved.
They didn't lose in a blaze of glory.
No, they were just slowly asphyxiated by pure math.
It almost feels claustrophobic when you describe it like that, but it's also undeniably brilliant. So for you listening, why should you care about a fictional card game deck from a 2026 PDF?
Because Val isn't just a deck. It's a remarkably effective framework for real-world problem solving. Think about how these principles apply to prepping for a boardroom negotiation, or managing a massive project, or even just dealing with an overwhelming inbox.
Right.
If you adopt the Val mindset, you are shaping the state rather than reacting to it. You don't walk into a boardroom waiting to hear their objections. You've already anticipated those variables, calculated the answers, and structured your proposal so those objections mathematically cannot exist.
You're valuing high individual standards over fragile, overly complex synergies. You aren't relying on 5 different departments perfectly coordinating a miracle under pressure. You're building robust individual processes that stand completely on their own.
And you're seeking that quiet inevitability rather than flashy, momentary wins that leave you vulnerable.
That is a wildly powerful lens to look through, but I have to leave you with one final unwritten scenario to ponder, something to mull over that naturally arises the deeper we analyze this.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. If Val's entire philosophy relies on preemptively removing the opponent's options before they even exist, what happens when a Val plays against another Val?
Oh, wow, the mirror match. That is a brilliant paradox.
Right. If both players are absolutely refusing to commit blindly, if both are holding their precise removal, waiting to punish the first person who attempts to establish tempo, does the game become this perfectly, beautifully predictable dance? Or does the entire concept of control just collapse in on itself in a total vacuum of inaction?
It's the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. But instead of an explosion, it's just absolute silence. Neither side will provide the momentum required for the other to execute a conversion.
It's just a staring contest of pure calculation, just
Yeah.
waiting to see who blinks or who draws the one card that finally breaks the mathematical symmetry. So as you head back into the chaos of your own day, we encourage you to take a little bit of that unshakable, calm precision with you. Approach your variables with clarity, adapt without losing your standards, and remember, seek that quiet inevitability. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.